Hi everyone, my name is Anton Morozov, also I'm known in the web as IronLupus, and today I'm going to do a small video showing my process of digital gesture drawing. So I'll be drawing in Photoshop from photos, some gesture sessions. So here is my warning that there would be nude models in this video, so if due to some reason you can't watch naked people, please make sure that you close this video. Also, I need to say that all the photos that I am using are just taken from the web, from different open sources, and they by no means belong to me. Well, I think that I have just settled down all the juridical issues, so we can get started. Okay, just a few words about how I organize my working space in order to do gesture digitally from photos. Here I need to split my screen into two, and it's done pretty simple in Photoshop. So by pressing the F key, you just get into the mode when can you see this small pin noting your file you're working in, and you just go to Window section, go to Arrange, and say New Window for your file. Okay, so we have two pretty simple windows right now, and all you need to do is go to Window, go to Arrange, and just two up vertical. Okay, so now I just have the very same file shown in two windows. Well, it's pretty nice in this case because I'm drawing in the same file and just saving the performance of my computer. Just a few things before I get started. I just have 1 minute left before the timer would be starting. I'm using a simple round brush, maybe with one exception that I have a spacing lowered to 1%. And my color is 100% black. So just you can see it's simple lines like that. Okay, so I think we can start right now. As you can observe, we have been drawing Mr. Phelps, the famous Olympic champion. And what I'm going to start with is, of course, the force lines. The lines which would explain the whole figure in a very small amount of effort. So, as far as photos are concerned, I prefer drawing from real models, especially for studying purposes. But if you like time, like me right now, or if you want to get some really nice models, for example, some professional bodybuilders, sportsmen, nice girls, it's a good idea to have photos, especially for poses wise, because sometimes it's really nearly impossible to get your model on real live gesture drawing sessions in the pose of some true action like jumping, staying on their arms, and performing some difficult tricks, which are kind of piece of cake for a professional photographer to make a photo of. So I try to be quite loose at this stage and don't press really hard on my stylus. Well, as you can already notice, I'm using Photoshop CS6 and I'm using a Wacom tablet of A4 size, which is my favorite one. I like huge tablets. And you know, guys, I truly believe that drawing from on the computer, drawing digitally and painting digitally is pretty the same as doing it using pencils, oils, acrylics, or any other traditional mediums. Because, well, it's just the same idea in everything, just that you should get your force lines in place, get your proportions nicely, don't press that hard. It's just pretty the same from me, and I just, generally speaking, I don't see much difference because you know, you can sometimes hear from some people that it's not you but the computer drawing. Well, it's complete nonsense from my point of view, because well, if you don't know how to draw or lack some skills, the computer just, well, it can help you to fix something, but you need to know what you need to fix. So even now I just don't try to get into some transformations and some movements, because I'm working loosely, my lines are pretty light right now, so it won't be hard for me to change something just on the go. Okay, so as you can see, I'm just working now to get the force, the movement on the figure, just to make sure that I really make the pose feel like the guy is actually stepping forward and he is walking. Yes, also mind the fact that our back leg is further away than the closer one. That's why it's a bit upper. Yes, you can just see it on the photo, and I just want to point it out. Well, just one more thing about myself. I'm working as a concept artist for video games, and you need to, well, all these gesture things are pretty important for your character or any kind of creature drawing, because to some extent most of your characters will be just some type of human beings or things, even if we talk about some monsters and aliens, some close to humans. That's why you need to be good at drawing humans and understanding how their body work, so that you can draw any creature you wish from your imaginations, because, well, it's common knowledge that people are, well, have more affection or can just like more things that somehow are similar to what they've already seen. That's why, and, well, our culture, our civilization is just based on human being to some extent. Everything is just, even buildings are built due to the height of humans, the size of humans, so it's comfortable for them to move in. And almost all work of arts are based on portraying human body. That's why, yes, human body is a good merit, is a good thing, because people see other people more than anything else. Because, well, just every morning you see yourself in the mirror when cleaning your teeth and washing your face. So, people, yes, you know, drawing people, well, is really important. And as far as people drawing is concerned, the gesture and the ability to show the poses and what actually is going on is really crucial. That would make your characters really live. And also, don't think that when you draw a character and giving him just some huge gun or big sword, or in case of girls, some nice boobs, sorry girls for that, it won't help you to make it really alive and give it some kind of true character that people would have some kind of, well, feeling that this thing is truly cool. It's the pose and the body language which tells them what kind of a guy is it. If he's a kind of heroic person, or he is a coward, or maybe he's evil, or maybe he's good, he's a warrior, or he's a mage. It's somehow, it's really close to acting, as actors use their body to show some emotions and tell some stories. The same thing happens as far as characters are concerned. So, yes. As you see, as I've already said, I'm quite light right now, and I'm not really going into the details, especially the face. Although people like when faces are shown on your gestures, because, well, face is the first thing people look at. It's just as it works. We are like that and just deal with it. But drawing the face is a kind of a tricky thing, because if you draw your face, it should be nice. That's why if you especially lack time, well, in my case I am doing 15 minutes gestures, which I know is pretty long and maybe resemble to some kind of a short drawing. But it's a kind of time for me which is pretty comfortable, both to draw, to get some details, to work on some areas of body which I feel a bit uncomfortable with, and also to have a nice talk. To be honest, all these videos which I am doing are more just for studying myself, because when I draw and talk at the same time, I try to somehow emphasize things which I myself am not really good with, and just talking this throughout every time helps to understand your mistakes better, and to work with them. Also now I am just trying to emphasize some major points of the body, which would be the point of one palm getting into the arm, your elbow, shoulder, scapular, then of course your rib cage with the nipples and bottom of the ribs. Then it would come the pelvis with upper parts of the pelvis and some kind of lower parts, when actually the legs are just going something like that here into the body. Okay, so let's come somehow to what I'm actually doing. If it comes for the face, which I've mentioned, it's really cool to have the face, but sometimes you really don't have time for that, because gesture drawing is more on the body language rather than on face expressions. So I just try to note down the position of main features, but to be honest, in order to put them, you need to get your face right, to put your head on your neck, and somehow tell the actual character of the face, of the head, it's better even to say. For example, in case of Mr. Phelps, especially if his jaw a bit open on this photo, it's kind of really narrow and straightened up, so it's a kind of stretched vertically. That's which you need to emphasize. Also note down that when the person is moving, his pelvis and shoulders are not parallel, and if I can see this slight angle in his pelvis going from left to right like this, the shoulders usually go in the opposite direction, so it's just from down to up like this. Okay, I can just even add some tone with small brush strokes, or in this case, the brush feels more like automatic pencil. Then it will have some kind of pencil strokes. But I'm not just crazy about getting into tone. All the tone I use is based on showing where the form get corners. Yes. So to some extent, almost all parts of human body are very similar to simple cube. Yes, just usual cube with different faces, edges, and you need to show these edges so that you get the idea how each part of the body got positioned into the space. Yes, if it's closer to you, if it's farther away from you, if it's perpendicular to your eyesight or parallel. All these things are pretty important to have a realistic and live. I just can't stop mentioning how it's important to get your gesture live, so it feels as the person is actually moving it's actually doing something. That's what will bring to your character designs real power, which would catch the viewer's eye and make him say, "Whoa, that's really cool." From my point of view, good examples, well, and not only from my point of view, good examples of this method of work are the guys like Wes Bird and Marko Djordjevic, because these guys are crazily good in this sphere of showing the movement of their characters, the force in their gesture. So you just really believe that this person is truly standing or truly moving or truly raising his hand like that. Okay, I think that I just need to move these features a bit inside, closer. Okay, it's about, I think, 5 minutes left. That's why I just need to pay attention to the parts which I didn't draw properly. Usually try your best to keep the whole gesture drawing on the same level of detailization and attention you've paid to this or that part of the body, because at the end of the day it's the whole thing that works. And if it's somehow worked at the same percent of accuracy, that it looks usually better. Yeah, that's just because, you know, nothing, you can't say, okay, the hand is drawn well and nothing is drawn well at all. Okay, just you see, as I have already said, I made these videos just to try to avoid my own mistakes, and now I'm paying too much attention to the face, so I just need to stop and move to the feet, which, to be honest, the lower part of leg and feet are kind of trouble points for me right now, and I'm just try my best to work on them, because, you know, feet are really important, because it helps you to put your character on the ground plane and truly explains the fact that it's actually standing. That is actually standing on this floor, on this ground, on this spaceship. It doesn't matter where. Because it helps to make your character more believable. And that's what really defies the professional work from work of people who don't know all these things. And, you know, sometimes you can use the very same photos for your own characters, because, you know, just if we add some details like clothing, maybe some armor, some weapons, some spacesuit, everything you wish, to this guy, well, it would work. It would look like a character, because Mr. Phelps says a very good example of some kind of a superheroic human figure, you know, wide shoulders, pretty small hand relative to the body, long powerful legs. That's why it pretty suits, because, you know, even if you take into account some famous video game characters like Kratos from God of War series, well, his figure is pretty based on professional swimmers, guys who are swimming every day, and that's why their body develops in such a cool way that it's, well, helps. But still, I think that the head is still really small. Well, I can't deny that working in Photoshop is really convenient, well, because it allows you to scale something, to move something, which would be kind of a pain in the ass if we do this traditionally. But actually, guys, it won't save you if you don't know how to do the whole thing. Yeah? Because, you know, in order to move something, you should know where to move it. That's why I do my best to visit gesture drawing sessions once, or even better, 2 times a week. I just take my laptop and go there doing gesture drawing. Because nothing can be compared with really drawing from a live model, because it's real light you're watching, it's real perspective you're watching, because sometimes photos show some wicked perspective, because you never know from exactly what angle and what distance and with what lens the photographer would take that or this photo. That's why I just tell you guys, photos are nice because, as I've said, they give some more freedom for body types, nationalities, cool guys and cool girls, but it still needs your knowledge of real life, so you can just note some mistakes in the photos or just use it for your own sake. Okay, about 2 minutes left for this gesture. Just need to check the proportions. Well, you can measure them using, for example, some kind of rectangular selection tool. Okay, yes, something like that. But, well, in case of gesture drawing, usually you do it just with your own eye. Okay, just some work on my feet and hands. Usually the most important points where people pay their attention is the face, hands and feet. It's some kind of key points people need some good detailization in. Okay, that's why, guys, you need to know how to draw these things, and just practice them, maybe drawing separately. Okay, maybe just 1 minute more left, and just to bring the feeling of walking, I just put some small shadow under the feet. Yeah. As you've noticed, I just tried my best just to get the gesture right and just the feeling of the figure. That's why I didn't go into some details, just lightly noticing down some muscles. Okay, some ankles. Okay, feeling still that his legs are a bit thin. That's why I just need to force up these things. Okay, so just as I've said, Photoshop helps you to solve some small problems like this. For example, this leg is slightly up from my point of view because, as you see, ankles on the photo are pretty on the same level. And also, don't be afraid to emphasize the force. Yes, you see, I've just tried to make this slight curve in the body to show that actually it's a bit twisting and it's somehow is not like straight line like this. It's never like this. Almost never. Even it's a kind of a soldier standing straight. There is a curve, because that's the way our bones and muscles work. Okay, just some small fixes. Actually, I've already been out of time, but I've started a bit, maybe 1 minute later than I planned. And, well, you see, you can, when you do it like this, from photo or with your own timer, spend some time for minor fixes, if you really want it. But, to be honest, just don't really care. What you managed to do is fine. It's the experience. You already got the experience. It's not kind of a work for somebody who is paying you money. That's why you just doing it for yourself to study. And it's better to make more things sometimes than just getting into one thing. In case of gestures, it usually works like this. The more gestures you do, the better it is. Okay, I think we should stop with this one. Although I feel that there are some mistakes, and of course there are some mistakes, but we need to move on. Just straightening up some things just to bring this leg a bit forward. Yes, guys. And this hand a bit forward. Okay. and I think it should be a bit closer to the body, like this. Okay. Nice. Okay, I think we'll finish with this one. Moving forward, we have a photo of this lady, as I've said, already mentioned. It's pretty hard pose for live models to stand long. So okay, then we just need to make this my favorite. Okay, gesture lines like this. Okay, so be light. And don't be afraid if you don't get into the line from the very first try, because I'm not really sure that truly are people who draw everything and always with the first line. Even very experienced artists who are doing some character designs, they still somehow mark up to be sure that everything is in place, and then, well, fix things, move things, and redraw something. Because, you know, when you even see some guy doing some gesture or maybe some figure drawing just in one line without even fixing everything, well, I'm pretty sure that in most cases, if this person is not unbelievably lucky, that there are some mistakes, and if he would spend more time doing this, he would be fixing them. So don't worry about being wrong. It just matters how actually wrong you are, and it's just like shooting. You just don't need to hit 10 each time. You can hit 9, 8, even 7, just to be sure that you are getting right. You just need some minor fixes. That's why it's really important to be light on the first stage of your gesture drawing, because it would help you to erase easily everything and just fixing everything with more harder lines which you put on top of a lighter lines. Okay, so we have this gesture, we have this leg which goes a bit of a curve, not like this actually, you know, with like a triangle outside, but it's more like a curve inside. It's a kind of the way legs work, and hands also, because, you know, elbow is not the thing which goes only like this or just a straight line. It can curve a bit, and that's what makes your drawing believable and gives it this feeling of movement, which is, as I've said already, really important. Okay. Yes. Guys, it's really important when you do gesture drawings to draw both male and female models, because, well, your characters who will be drawing will be both males and females. And male and female bodies, well, they are similar, of course, because we're all humans and have legs and arms. But female figures are more flexible than men's are. That's why always pay attention to the way how curvy and with soft angles are the figures of women, because you know, at the beginning you can think that to make a beautiful girl, to draw a beautiful girl, you need to give her a pretty face and nice, well, let's say chest. You got what I mean. But actually it's the way her body looks as a whole, how nicely her curves are, how nicely the chest area and the pelvis area and in between area are working with one another. That's why when you can see some alien, female alien sketches which are looking pretty sexy, although they have some kind of claws and hooves, and maybe their faces are not truly nice because they have some teeth on horns and very little human features, but you're just watching and saying, why this awful and to be honest scary creature looks so sexy? It's just because it's a female figure that truly works. Okay. If we talk about drawing hands, I mean palms with fingers, it's really important for you to be able to catch with your lines how it's connecting to the arm and how the big finger, the thumb, is related to the volume of other fingers. So especially in case of a short gesture, even if it's 15 minutes like this, well, don't go for drawing all the fingers. To be honest, it's not really important, because if your hand is in the wrong place and it doesn't work properly in these simple lines, drawing each finger wouldn't truly save you. Well, it would look somehow nice, and it would look as if a person spent time and effort to draw each finger, but if it's not in the place it should be, well guys, believe me, it's not gonna work. Okay, one thing I would just, well, forgot to mention just in the beginning. I would really appreciate all your comments on this video and mentioning all my mistakes which I do, both in drawing things, in presenting, and even saying some words, because English is not my native language, and I can mess up in some things, especially anatomy wise. I am not a person who know all these Latin names. Well, I know how these parts of the body are called in Russian, but I don't know Latin names which are used in English. That's why if I just make some mistakes, just feel free to write about them in comments. I would really appreciate it, because as I've said, it's my studying. Okay. We just have some little time left. That's why I'll try to. As you see, I just don't rush for drawing everything. I try to get everything in the right place, in the right angle, just to be sure that I've just cut the whole pose of the model and managed to explain what's actually going on. To be honest, it's the main thing which gesture is drawn for, to pass the whole idea of the model and of the body and its pose. That, okay, this girl leaned this way with her legs like this, and feet like that. That's why it's like a quick look at what's going on, which you then put on the screen or on paper. It doesn't matter. Really, guys, it doesn't matter. I have a practice of drawing gestures with pencil and on paper, and now I'm doing it digitally, and believe me, I don't see any difference. Of course, as I've said, I can fix some things, I can erase things, but it's just medium. And believe me, to make a light and drawing using a pencil, well, as far as I am concerned, sometimes it's easier than do the same thing in Photoshop. Although modern tablets, vacuum tablets of course, have very nice sensitivity range, but compared to real pencil, even a soft one, because I'm usually using 8B pencil for gesture drawing, well, believe me, it's more sensitive than any tablet which has already been created. Maybe in the future they're gonna do something which will allow you to draw on screen with a pencil. That would be just awesome, and especially if there would be a true brush which will be used for painting, it will be even more cooler. I just dream about having a square brush, classical square brush, which I can use on Cintiq or something like that. Okay. Let's see. So this body seems a bit long for me, but maybe it just lacks some wideness, because when you draw things wide, they look shorter, and when you draw things narrow, they look longer. It's a kind of a common principle which really works. That's why usually all of your long characters of a long height, they usually are kind of a narrow guys, and all small characters are quite wide. Okay, let me fix these important parts of female body. But as I've said, it's the chest that makes the figure look truly sexy. All these, things. If you do this right, your character will be already looking sexy, although I didn't put any boobs here. Okay, I think I'll just spend a couple of more minutes, because I just make a short stop in recording just to check if my videos are being recorded properly. Okay. Because already just need to move to next gesture. It's a bit... Yes. Just some shadow, just to make it look a bit cooler, right? And I think we should make this feet larger. It's a kind of a common mistake that I usually do, making my feet small, because feet are not small. They are somehow, if you compare the length of your feet with, well, it's pretty close to your forehead to your chin, some distance like that, or maybe even longer. Just I think I need to check this in some textbook on anatomy to be sure how truly this relation works. Okay, there is some kind of a small step here, which is really important. Okay, some just small fixes. Okay, because I just need to move on. Okay, let's say that we've done with this model. Yes. And let's move to the next. Okay, here is a good example of a superhero type pose, which you'll probably need to draw for some illustration for some guys like Magic the Gathering. And when you're drawing a pose like that, I would recommend you to, at first, to make some sketches to get the idea of the pose you really want. Yes, for example, I want the guy to be something like this. Yes. For example, holding a gun. Yeah. So as you see, it's just I'm drawing from my head right now to give you some example, but it's pretty the same process, right? And then look for some references where you, well, like this one of this girl, jumping girl, to be sure that you can learn something and get your pose right. Because, you know, I believe that each time you draw something, you should try your best to learn something new, because it's the way I think it works, because our lifetime is pretty limited, and there is a number of things you can draw before you die. That's why I think it's a good idea to get most from each your brush stroke and each drawing you make. And also it would help you to make a better drawing and better painting, and make guys who are paying you money for that happier, and your viewers just like it. And okay, so as you've noticed, I make a huge long line first. Yes, it's a kind of a main line which describes the whole pose, and then comes the line of the arms. Also, this photo gives us the idea that sometimes photos are not the best thing to learn to draw from, because, you know, it's, of course, it's main goal of the photographer who made this photo to make it really cool. That's why it's have quite a contrast light. That's why the right part of the body is just an almost black shadow. So I just have almost no idea what is happening in this area. I need just to really look carefully to get this small, to get the information from small tone differences. Also, no doubt that it's quite well, complex thing, this pose, as how it is located in space, because, you know, this arm, well, it's the closest thing which comes to us. That's why it's a kind of lower arm foreshortening, meaning that it has the same width as if it was just small profile view, but as it goes to us, it's lacks length, but it's still wide. some mess of the hair just to let me see my proportions better. Well, it's a good idea, as for example some these really cool guys, cool digital painters, like for example Jama Jurabayev. Once in his tutorial he said that he would do his best to think about his every given brush stroke to make sure that it lands where he wants it to land and where it needs to land, because it's a way to become a better professional and make your drawings and paintings look cooler. That's why the same goes with the lines. Try your best to think before putting the line, even if you're doing some really quick gesture. So don't rush and make Well, to be honest, I really did it for around the time I started doing gestures, but then it turned out that it really doesn't help, because if you just spend this time on thinking and then putting just a couple of strokes, you will do everything faster and it would look cooler. That's the thing. That's the deal. Okay, moving on. So I'm just pointing out that the rib cage is something like this in this case, if we compare it with the cube. So I think it's something like that. Yeah. So because you know it goes something like this. Yes, I think something like that. So it's just the way it works, and the pelvis is, I believe, something like this. Yes, it's you can just think. So it's, well, let's come closer, because you know the spine is curved and these points are getting closer to one another. Okay, let's move on. We just have a good amount of time left for this gesture. That's why I won't just still trying to work in the light way. Maybe just giving you an idea of the features. Coming a bit closer. Because, you know, yes, face is a pretty good thing to be able to draw in just in quick lines. I would even say that it's even cooler to make several simple lines and make the expression come out. For example, that's like this girl is a bit smiling, not Joker style of course, but with her nice mouth and lips. Okay, just some more work on my hands. I think even I should do this way. So you see, I just show the thumb and the little finger coming out, because it's the main things which give you the idea how this hand behaves, what is actually happening there. Also, as I've mentioned for shortening, I should point out this in this case of this arm. Okay, I think that this arm should not be curved like this. We can move it like that a bit. And of course work on the part which I really didn't pay any attention to, which is my fault. Okay, and work on this arm a bit. Okay, and as far as the comments which I mentioned before are concerned, I would really appreciate all your ideas, all your thoughts which you would like to share with me. It doesn't matter for me, guys, if you are professional artists or you don't draw at all, or you've been drawing just for a couple of weeks, because you never know where a good idea would come from. Once I've been doing an illustration for Dominance War contest, for the 5th part of Dominance War contest, and one of the security guys came into the room where I was sitting after work drawing this thing, and he just gave me a small idea that he thought would be nice to have in my work changed, and it helped me to look on what I was doing with a fresh eye, and it turned out that his idea was pretty good one, although this guy wasn't a professional artist, he was just a security officer. So don't, never be afraid to listen to critics, because even it's a negative one and you know that it's not true, and the person who is saying it just wants to bring you down, make a lemonade out of each lemon you get. Okay, this guy said that I am not good at doing this thing because I don't do this or that, or maybe just he said, well, okay, he's not right, and I know that he's not right, but maybe I should look at my work again and understand how I can make it even better. This kind of positive thinking is really important when you are studying, because first time you start doing anything, and in this case gesture drawing, well guys, believe me or not, for the first half a year of doing gestures regularly, I mean almost every day, you'll be suffering a lot, and you'll just be dissatisfied with the result. But it's kind of a necessary pain you need to go through to become a good artist. And believe me or not, it's just your work and your stubbornness, your eagerness to do things that will break all the walls. Just to make things clear, the best explanation of how it works is in the Rocky Balboa movie. I mean the most recent one, when he's saying to his son that it doesn't matter how hard you hit, it matters how hard you can get hit and keep on moving. That's how winning is done. Well, it's 100% how it works here. You fail, you feel that you are doing some awful things, and you keep on going, you keep on doing. That means falling forward. It means that you study from each your failure, which is not longer a failure, which is really your experience. There are no failures, there are no successes, there are experience. There is experience, and you should always think about all these things only in this way. Because if you just will be getting on yourself, saying that you haven't got this, that there are cool guys, and you can't be cool like them right now, and this is bad, and blah blah blah. Guys, it's not the way. It's never the way. Because the guys who are cool now, they also were bad at some point. You just didn't know when they were bad, because maybe they started earlier than you, because they had more practice than you. That's the only difference. Believe me. And never go down. If you want to become an artist, if you want to learn to draw, if you want to learn to do gestures, just push, push and push. Punch, punch and punch. Without punching, no fight can be won. That's the only thing I want to tell you. Okay. Just about 2 minutes left. and I think that I need to fix some things. Maybe I wanted to draw more, but first of all I need to draw things right and good, and then would be some okay, just showing some muscles which are twisted. Maybe some more attention to rise, just a bit. To be honest, the female face is far harder to draw than male ones, because it's much softer, and you should not overgo with the details in order to present this nice softness. So bear in mind when you'll be drawing girl faces that sometimes it's a good idea not to draw much, because it would make the girls you're drawing look older and less beautiful. Okay, I think we need to finish with this one. As I've said, don't hesitate to stop. Just, you need to move forward. Move forward. You're dissatisfied, you want to draw more, but you need to move forward. That's the only way to learn to draw and paint. Just moving forward, always. And do your best with each thing you're doing. So some work on my ankles, and then maybe just stressing up. As you see, I'm stressing not only just the lines, but on the corners of the form, because it's far more important, because this corner of the form, or this one, is far closer to me than this line of this part of the leg. Okay, I think we've done with this one. And here come my personal exercise, which I do regularly during this kind of gesture drawing sessions. And this exercise is drawing of lower part of the leg and feet. Because it's a kind of a tough place for me, as I have said, that's why I draw them separately at the end of my daily practice. Because, well, if you want to learn to do something, just do it regularly. It actually doesn't really matter how much time you spend on it. Of course, the more the better. But, guys, believe me, if you would draw just maybe a couple or 5 or maybe 10 gestures every day, you won't believe after a week or a month how long you've moved, although you've been spending almost only 1 hour in a day doing these things. Okay, so there I just a bit messing up because I've already started drawing some volumes of legs before getting my gesture lines in place. And gesture lines are also work for feet. Yes, because you need to put your feet on the right angle. Okay, just walking lightly and using my stylus pressure on my tablet. Okay, then as you can see, I'm doing this parallel, so it's drawing both models' legs at the very same time, because I think these 15 minutes are pretty nice for that, and it also helps me not to bother about the fact that I'm done with one thing and I don't have time left for another one. So just moving from one thing to another, it helps me to somehow switch my attention and will let me help noticing my mistakes. As you've noticed, I'm not just drawing only the lower part of the leg, just below the ankle, the knee. Oh my god, I've been saying the ankle all this time. Sorry for that, guys. Of course it's the knee. As I've said, just my bad. So if you just tell me about this in the comments, I won't mind it, of course, because, you know, mistakes should be used and not be worried about. Each mistake allow you to understand how you can become better. That's why I also want to practice my English more, and I'll be happy if you just tell me that, dude, it's not called like that, or you shouldn't say this or that things, because if you say that in USA or in Great Britain, people will be offended. Alright, let's move on. Okay, as I've said, I'm not just drawing only the lower leg and feet. I'm drawing also the pelvis, because it's a good practice, and a friend of mine, a very cool artist, Dmitry Hrapovitsky, he's also known as Armandeo in the web, so just you can check his portfolio on DrawCrowd. I'm not sure that he posted everything on ArtStation, but he could probably have already done it. He said that during one of his anatomy classes in the university, the teacher told him that if you're drawing some part of the body, draw where it comes from, because it would help you to understand how actually it works and what actual proportions it has. So guys, don't bother, you don't need to, in this case when you're practicing with exact part of the body, to draw, for example, the pelvis area really neatly. You just need to mark it up, and it would really help you. Okay, so this leg of this dude seems to me a bit stiff. That's why I need to work on my lines and my force more, so it looks more believable, so it's a leg of a living person and not of just some puppet, that it's flesh and not wood. Always mind the back of your feet, that's also kind of a square thing, and it's a good idea to always mention the part of feet where the thumb is touching other fingers, because it's what really makes the feet looks more believable. It's some kind of a ninja boots thinking, which would allow you to, well, make your feet more believable, because people's brain works not like a photo camera, because, you know, our brain is always storing energy, and its main goal to let you get the whole idea of what's happening around pretty quickly. That way it usually neglects the details and focuses on some contrast and huge relations. That's why it won't usually, if you just watch some feed for a short amount of time, that won't give you, you won't remember how each finger looks like. What you'll get is this relation of the thumb, well, I mean fingers wise, of course, and all other fingers. Okay, let's move on, let's move on. As you see, I'm not crazy about putting a lot of lines, and I even understand that I would do very little detail even with this quite long gesture drawing time of 15 minutes, but I would try to make fewer lines but make them better and more correct. For example, yeah, you see there is a problem with connection of pelvis area with the leg, so I think I should work on this a bit more. When you don't see some part how it goes and connects, it's a good idea to draw kind of a glass-wise when you draw it through the volumes which are visible to you, because it will help you to understand how actually things connect and where they should be located, not just simply copying line to line, but understand what's going on. It's a really important way of thinking, because when you're drawing from imagination, it's the only way of understanding how things should look like. Especially if you're drawing a pose which you haven't drawn 1,000 times, and that's why you just can't draw it with your closed eyes. Because you know, okay, this line goes here, this line goes there, and that's why it will look believable now. Usually when you draw poses, you think how actually the body would work from in this pose, from this angle, and in this perspective. That's why, guys, draw through. It's a very good practice of drawing things. Okay, we just have some minutes left. Also, don't be too focused on the silhouette lines of your gesture. Of course, they are important, but also inside there are volumes, there is some information about the form and the gesture, which is no less important than your silhouette lines. More, I would just say that silhouette lines are formed by your inside. Okay, you've noticed when you zoom out sometimes it stops understanding that it's just, well, you can't move it like this, okay? So we just would let you do it. So just zoom out or zoom in a bit, and you'll be able to move your canvas the way you want. Okay, I think I just spend a bit more time on these things, just to make sure that I coming closer to true. So actually being able to work lightly is, from my point of view, one of the first steps to be able to draw nice things. and actually being able to draw. That's what is called sketching, that you can walk lightly and then emphasize things which you want to emphasize. So that although it's a kind of a draft thing, but still it looks nice and people can understand what's going on, what you wanted to tell with this drawing. That's what's really important. Okay, so I can just work on some of mine, trouble it is a bit more. Because it's my final gesture for today. Okay, and I wanted to really learn things. Working on this feet to make sure that my ninja boot works well. So it's just the main angles which you need to be able to get to draw feet well. Okay. Okay. Well, this feet is lifted a bit above the ground as far as I can see from the photo. That's why I have a kind of an angle like that. So I just put some shadow here to emphasize this idea. It's like, you know, writing some notes. Just you say, okay, this character did this guy lifted his arm like that. It's the description, which you just do visually and not in your words. It's a very good approach to draw gesture because then you'll be more focused on essence of gesture drawing and not just on copying every tiny dot and every tiny line which you come across. Okay, maybe it's a bit too long, that's why it looks a bit weird. Yeah, I think it's so. The back of the feet, it goes this, and then the volume goes like that. I think it's something like that. Okay guys, I think it's final. Yes, so just time to finish it. Some a bit of work to make these guys bigger muscles, nicer muscles. Maybe it's a bit too long. I would raise it up. Okay. Okay guys, I want to tell you thank you. I appreciate the time you spent watching this video. I hope it gave you some idea, maybe some clues to how gestures can be done digitally, and maybe some good ideas which will help you to improve. It would be just the best reward I can only get. Again, I would appreciate any thumbs ups and shares and subscriptions, and of course the main thing, your comments. Everything you want to tell me about this video, about my gesture drawing, anything you wish. I would really like it, because it helps me to improve, and I really want to improve. So, see you again, goodbye, and never fear the dragon.